Okay, so I've got a big gig coming up in about a month's time. Bloc Party and Interpol. Yeah, it's actually Bloc Party first, not Interpol and Bloc Party, which I had initially assumed. So I'm going to prepare for that by actually getting around to listening to the whole of Bloc Party's discography, because so far, the only album I've properly heard is, of course, Silent Alarm, which is a fucking... Yeah, Silent Alarm is fucking... I don't have any fucking adjectives. The good adjectives. All the good adjectives. I could hear some of Interpol's later albums a bit more, but I'm more familiar with those than I am with most of Bloc Party stuff, which I just haven't heard yet. So, what I'm going to do to start the video is listen to their sophomore album, A Weekend in the City, which I have listened to once, but probably not for about 6 months at this point, so it's not very fresh in my mind. From what I remember, there seemed to be not quite as much focus on guitars, so a little more electronic, although when I looked at the Wikipedia page briefly, it said one of the genres was math rock. I definitely don't remember anything mathy about it, but maybe I'll be proved wrong, so I'm going to start playing A Weekend in the City. Let's put the mic down here. So in the video that's about to happen, I do give my thoughts on every song that I hear as part of it. However, the real-time reaction to the song may be fairly short in some cases because 1, trying to avoid copyright troubles, 2, I'm just not all that talkative in general, and 3, I didn't want the overall length of the video to be super long anyways, trying to keep it like less than an hour, something like that. And also give it up for my cat, everyone. You're going to see quite a bit of my cat. Her name is Callie, not Kelly. Not like the Bloc Party guy. When I got her, she was already an adult, and she already had that name, so I just thought, yeah, it sounds nice. I'll call her that. And we go with opening track, Song for Clay, Disappear Here.
I am trying to be heroic.
Yeah, I actually remember the first time hearing this, thinking that Kele's vocals are so much more refined compared to the first album, which is a very interesting change. Obviously, I guess it's for the better, because he'd probably blow out his voice if he kept singing all the high notes like he did on Silent Alarm. But yeah, it's weird because it's like going from post-punk to Broadway, basically, with the way he's improved his voice. But anyway, we continue.
So I
I like that. So this guitar part, this isn't all that far removed from Silent Alarm for sure. I forgot how just downright nasty this riff was. There you go. Not quite as a badass of a solo as some of the ones on Silent Alarm, but pretty good moment regardless. Is that a Smashing Pumpkins reference? Because it's a vampire. Like the world. Moving on. Yeah, Song for Clay. It's a very strong opener. The first minute or so, it sounds like something completely unlike anything on the first album, but then when the full instrumentation comes in, it kind of retains a lot of what the first album has. More of a kind of harder-edged riff than a lot of the guitar lines on Silent Alarm, though, so very nice. Is this proto-Black MIDI? That riff is maybe a little bit too close to Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne for my liking. Well, not really, it's still good, but it definitely reminds me of it quite a lot.
moakes.
Yeah, Hunting for Witches is another pretty strong start for this album. Good blend of electronica and indie rock. Sounds Christmassy. Here's a very Matt Tong drum line. Alright, that track's got a very explosive chorus, and that's probably the better part of the song. I'm feeling that so far the melodies haven't been quite as hooky as on the first album. I'm watching this on YouTube, so the next one's got a music video. It's The Prayer. Is it just me, or are Kelly's lead vocals in this intro a bit out of tune? They feel a bit flat, especially compared to the it feels like he's not at the right key. I don't really know what to say about this song. It's not bad. That's all I got though, really. Getting big Paranoid Android vibes from that guitar solo. I guess The Prayer was one of the singles for this because it's one of the more straightforward tracks. I'm not huge on it. I don't hate it, but yeah, I'd say pretty much the same about the music video. Some weird face warping stuff going on in that, and not much of a storyline. Also, goddamn, Russell Lissack was an absolute twig. But if you look at photos of Bloc Party in the present day, I swear his arms are like twice as thick now. Him and Kele, I swear, have been working out quite a bit over the years. They're surprisingly big now. Anyway, I digress. I guess these guitars are kind of math rock inspired. Not like weird time signatures, but the tone and everything, the way they're layered, kind of reminds me of some of those bands. Oh, switch up. Well, this is definitely my favourite song on the album so far. This has got it all. Yeah, fuck it up, Russell. There's at least one song on here that's on the same level as Silent Alarm. You know, it had lovely little quiet passages, it had hard rocking riffs, it had pretty cool vocal layers and vocal melodies. Yeah, it kept things fresh for the whole 5.5 minutes. It is great success. Good intro. I'm digging this vibe. Another vampire lyric. I think Kele had a bit of an interest in vampires around this time. Just a hunch. Also, apologies if I'm inconsistent with my pronunciation of Kele or Kele. Damn it, I gotta figure that out.
Who are you? I'm Kelly, the guitarist in Bloc Party. Cunt.
Ooh, got some strings as well. There might have been some strings on some of the other tracks, but yeah, they're very prominent on this one. Alright, we are now on a hot streak in this album, because On is another magnificent song. Very unlike a lot of what Bloc Party had done before this, but it does it immensely well. I don't really know what to say about this song, but I'm feeling it. Well, they've just scored a hat trick. Where It's Home is an absolute bloody ripper as well. Probably the most reminiscent of Silent Alarm out of the last 3 tracks, but a bit more of an experimental approach. Lots of fun, that one. I like that one quite a lot. Alright, we've got some more floaty synth stuff, or guitar effects. A nice and gentle guitar line. So yeah, I guess this is like the blue light, or the This Modern Love of A Weekend in the City. The more mellow, kinda semi-romantic song. Well, A Weekend in the City's taken a bit of time to boil, but now it's really cooking. Another excellent track. More subdued, but still very much successful. Melodically, it kind of feels like a pop song, almost like something that you'd hear in like a Snow Patrol song, maybe. But you don't get that bland feeling from hearing a Snow Patrol song, at least in my case. Yeah, no, it's well executed. And we now come to possibly the most famous song on the album, I Still Remember. It's got another music video, but from what I remember, it's just them playing the song on a train. Alright, well, I Still Remember is another one of the more pop-oriented kind of tracks on here, but I still enjoyed it quite a lot, even though I didn't really have a lot of vocal reactions during that. But no, I consider that another success. Alright, so the next one here on the track list is Flux, which I believe was added to the album later. It wasn't originally part of it. It's like a post-album single. That's right, this is a very, very electronic song. Oh god, auto-tune. Auto-tune to the moon. Remember when Bloc Party invented hyperpop? Probably more engaged by the weird music video here than the actual song itself. All these Godzilla-type mechs fighting and shit. Now they're doing a conga line or whatever. A can line. Quite an odd one compared to the rest of the track list. I've got mixed feelings about that one, because I'm talking about really pop-oriented songs, and then that one's got the most overused chord progression in existence. I'm certainly not writing it off completely now, but I'll probably like it more over time. Got some kind of church organ sounding things here. So here's another Kreuzberg kind of track. Mellow and romantic. Another great slow burner, and another 2 thumbs up for Sunday. Really nice anthemic guitar solo towards the end as well. Russell doing what Russell does best. We've just got the one more song left called Success. Hello? Bye-bye. Bloc Party bangers and the cutest cat in the bloody universe. What more could you ask for? Brilliant closing to the proceedings of that album. Almost symphonic. The way it gets louder and the instruments and everything, it feels symphonic in a way, yeah. Will A Weekend in the City possibly overtake Silent Alarm in terms of how much I like it? Probably not, but it's a damn good album regardless. It does a really good job at the more subtle musical bits, I think. That's something that it arguably does better than the first album. Yep. It gets my seal of approval. Alright, I'm back here, and I'm going to listen to Intimacy, the third Bloc Party album. I don't believe I've heard any of the songs on this album, but I've seen that it's apparently produced half by the guy who did Silent Alarm and half by the guy who did Weekend in the City. And it seems like it might be a 50-50 mix of rock and electronica. The scores for this album on Rate Your Music and Album of the Year aren't particularly favourable, but I'm going to try and not prejudge this. But also, on Metacritic, you know what the total critic score of Intimacy is? Yes, it's 69. Quite fitting for the theme of at least the theme of the title. But let's get into this uncharted territory. Track number 1, Aries. Alright, we've got some wacky pitch-shifting guitars, which is an interesting start. An absolutely immense drum beat. So we've kind of got Kele rapping on this opening track, but also not quite, so it's not really as potentially cringy as an actual rap verse might be. I don't mind the vibe of the vocals too much. Oh, the cat's coming back. Well, Aries is a bit bonkers, but I'd say that in a good way. I was vibing. I was nodding my head. It's a promising start for Intimacy. The next song is possibly the lead single, Mercury. It was one of the singles for sure. I've seen footage, I say noted. I've seen footage, I say noted. We got some brass. We got some brass flourishes. I would say that chorus in Mercury is a bit of a non-hook, looping a half-spoken phrase over and over. The instrumental backing definitely does the heavy lifting on that song. You got some kind of ominous brass parts and some wacky trumpet bits towards the end. So there's ups and downs, positives and negatives for that song. Not as strong as Aries, but not entirely a write-off. Alright, this is pretty familiar Bloc Party territory. Halo is a fairly straightforward song by Bloc Party standards, but sometimes straightforward's all you need. I'm still into it. What are you sniffing around for, you crazy cat? My cat was in the room for most of that song, so I think she doesn't mind it. Next up is Biko. I'm expecting this to be somewhat serious. It already sounds a little more somber than the last few tracks. So Biko is sort of in the vein of the slower tracks from the last album, like Sunday, Kreuzberg, and the like. I don't think it's quite on the level of those songs, but it's not bad at all. The electronic percussion kind of sounded a little janky, but in like a way that kept the song distinct rather than be unlistenable. So again, not a bad song. Now we have... Alright, so Trojan Horse sounds like it's going to be going back. This is probably one of the Paul Epworth songs rather than the Jackknife Lee ones. I will say, I like me a good bit of double-time hi-hat play. I always find that pretty satisfying to listen to. Alright. Oh, Matt Tong killing it once again. As always. I guess that might be at least my second favourite song on the album, if not favourite. Certainly up there with Aries, I reckon. I don't even remember what happened in Halo. Biko is probably my second least favourite. Mercury probably the bottom one. None of them bad, but Trojan Horse... maybe not the most essential Bloc Party song, but still very much enjoyable. A little creepy toy box, musical box intro. Nah, it's the opposite of creepy, actually. You again. walking near the mic. This appears to be the most viewed song of the album. It's got like 400k views and the highest like to dislike ratio out of all the ones I've seen so far. And I think I can hear why. Is that a string section or like a really convincing string synthesizer? Well, I'm going to say that Signs is the first proper S-tier track on Intimacy. The subtlety of that song absolutely works wonders, and the creative synth layering, great melodies, and yeah, love it. Another driving drum line. Key change, jeez. So 1 month off, sounded like a bit of a retread of the rock-oriented songs that Bloc Party had done before, but if it's done well, then I don't really care. The key change is probably the only real surprise in the song, and then there was some weird like electronic manipulation at the end that wasn't present earlier in the song, so it got a little more unpredictable at the end. Predictable or not, I think it's still alright. Alright, got some more hand clap core. Alright, we've basically got the prayer part 2. The rhythm, the instrumentation, very reminiscent of the prayer. Oh, I'm liking this choir bit. This is almost a UK drill song. I feel like a lot of those songs have that choir synth thing in the ho in the background. Wow, is this lingua ignota? Raise the roof. Hallelujah. Well, there's something maybe a little bit goofy about the choir-led backing of Zephyrus, but it's so much of a left turn that I can't not enjoy it. Yeah, it was a bold attempt at something different. Could have maybe paid off slightly more, but I liked it a lot anyways. And we come to another single called Talons. So yeah, I guess they chose all of the guitar-driven songs as singles because that's what the fans and the common listeners know them for best. Did he just say such a slut?
I don't know what I expected.
So it felt like Talons was sort of trying to push the guitars back a little in the mix to make it a little more pop-friendly. I thought the bridge was a nice change in the song, though. I thought that worked pretty well. Okay, I will say, really strong chorus on this one. If nothing else. Oh, here's another switch up. Better Than Heaven is another one of the tracks on here that I feel that if the entire song had been like what it is in the first half, it probably would have felt like it was missing something. But that big rock ending with the crazy-ass drums, that really filled in the hole. So I reckon that would be top 5 on this album, that song. Final track, Ion Square, is 6.5 minutes long, which I think would make it the longest song on any of the first 3 Bloc Party albums. I'm kind of getting an LCD sound system vibe from this start. I'm just going to go back. So one of the lines was, is a bore? And I initially just heard that as Interpol. They predicted the live show that they were going to play in 15 years' time. How eerie. Well, I'll stand by my LCD sound system comparison because the instrumentation on that and the way that the dynamics gradually build across the song and the vocals get more intense feel very reminiscent of songs like All My Friends and New York, I Love You. If it is just an LCD sound system clone, then it's a decently executed clone at that. Good closing track. I'm going to say that Intimacy is at the very least overhated. There may be some missteps across the runtime, but at most they're just slight missteps really. They don't completely bring any songs down. They're all enjoyable songs still. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better than A Weekend in the City, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the drop in quality that a lot of people would say that it is. I'll very much back this album. So I only finished reacting to Intimacy about 15 minutes ago, and now I'm about to start listening to 4. I've heard that the album is more of a guitar-oriented album. That's about all I know. And I would have heard at least one of these songs before because We Are Not Good People was on the FIFA 13 soundtrack, so I got to hear that quite a bit because I played that game quite a bit. I didn't really think much of the song back then, but given that I haven't properly heard it in quite a few years, maybe I'll be able to reevaluate it and appreciate it more. Opening track is called So He Begins to Lie. People weren't kidding when saying that this album is much more of a direct rock album. With how booming the drums are, and towards the start where there's like a big moment of guitar feedback, I feel that the song should have a bit more of a in-your-face feel instead of just like another spindly kind of Bloc Party or whatever. Like, it's a good song overall. I just wonder if it could have benefited a bit more from a different sort of style of production or guitar effects. And also I wonder if this is indicative of the rest of the album. Will it get a little bit tiresome? Next track is 3x3 or 3x3. 3x3. The verses of 3x3 are a bit weak. The chorus does save it more, and I like how they're trying to go for some more dark sounding chord progressions and guitar lines. But it could just be me, but I feel like the guitars are just begging for a little bit more distortion to really pack that extra punch. I'm still wary of how this album's going, but not completely out of it just yet. Next is Octopus. So Octopus doesn't have the same approach as So He Begins to Lie or 3x3. It sort of goes back more to the cleaner indie sound of Silent Alarm, though melodically feels a bit lacking. I do kind of like the woo 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 in the chorus. The little sort of looping delay effect on the guitars is a neat trick, and also kind of like how Russell goes full Van Halen tapping on the guitar solo. It's not a complete loss, but there could have been a little more to it. But we move. Is that a banjo? Okay, well there's no mention of any banjo or any other different string instruments on there that could have been that. Maybe it's just a standard electric guitar with odd processing. I don't know. This is an interesting change.
Yeah, I was feeling my breast. No, it was a turkey breast. Keeping abreast of the situation.
What the fuck was that monologue at the end? I'm considering Real Talk to be the first proper W of this album. Again, doesn't have the same aggressive approach as the opening few tracks. A little more stripped back, and all the better for it, I reckon. Let's see what happens on track 5. Alright, that sounds like it's going to be a more aggressive guitar riff, just from the amp noise of the intro. Alright, that's a pretty good aggressive riff. These verses don't even sound like they were part of the same song originally. I don't know if they really fit the chorus. Another pretty good Russell lissack solo. It seems like there's a trend with Bloc Party songs from Intimacy onwards where the verses tend to just be like, alright, and then the chorus is like, oh yeah, I dig this. It's like they've lost the ability to write really convincing verses. They can write good hooks, they just only really have them for the chorus, and then the verses are kind of like a mixed bag. But also, Kettling is probably the first distorted song here that feels fully satisfying in its delivery. The solo is giving very Siamese Dream kind of vibes. The flair of it felt very Billy Corgan-esque, very old-fashioned 80s kind of melodicism to it. So yeah, Real Talk and Kettling are recovering the album a little bit. Now we have track 6, They Fall. Is this Bloc Party or the XX? Oh, now it's getting good. But yeah, you see, the verse is just like, whatever, and then the chorus is like, Yeah, we need some better verses, guys. Alright, day 4 is at its best when it's built around the reverberating guitar arpeggios and Kelly's falsetto lines. He's gotten really good at the falsetto vocals, I will say. In a word, I would call it pleasant. Not the greatest Bloc Party song around. I can imagine a lot of people being sort of disappointed by this one, but I wouldn't say anything too bad about it. Now, next song is 2.5 minutes long, which makes you think it's going to be another really up-tempo, punky kind of song, but who knows. Oh, wow. This is not what I was expecting at all. I wanted dead or alive. Oh, here we go. Well, that was something. I think it won me over in the end, though. When it got really intense, I can't fault them for trying to do something a bit different with the bluesy intro. I'm not fully convinced by it, but we'll give that one a pass. We're getting shoegazy. Not really. I think I might have heard this song a long time ago as well. It sounds familiar. Gonna be brutally honest, it's a bit of a nothing song. I liked how passionate Kelly's lead vocal bit was in the chorus, but that was about it, really. It wasn't entirely bad, that song, but a little bit of a disappointment. Alright, well, Team A is already starting off a little bit more strange, but how's it going to build on that?
Yeah, he changed bites on his arm, and it was quite swollen.
What the fuck are you talking about, Kelly?
It popped and like,
why is this in the song? Ugh. Yeah, we needed that at the end of this song. Well, Team A, it's an improvement on Valis, but it could have been so much more. Another decent guitar solo, but yeah, it was underwhelming. I'll say it. Right, so this is Octopus Part 2, basically. This one also sounds vaguely familiar. Alright, Truth was another one of the more subtle tracks on 4, which isn't really a problem in and of itself. I think the problem is that it's only really mildly catchy. It should be an earworm, but it's just okay. No, you don't have musical opinions, you're just a silly cat. Hopefully this next one is okay. Well, it sounds like the healing's going to be another more sparse song. Again, is this the XX? I wish I'd pointed the camera down a little bit more. If I lean over to pull the computer down, I'm going to lose the cat, so I can't. I don't want to do that. Okay, the added strings I think are starting to save the song a bit. I like this bit quite a lot. I was going to say quite a bit, but that would have sounded real stupid. I really wanted to like this album more than I currently do. I really did, but you bloody forced my hand, Bloc Party. You forced my hand by being a bit mid. The first half of this album is a light year ahead of the second half. That's my initial impression. We've got one more track. We've got We're Not Good People. I'm not holding out too much hope on that being significantly better than what I remember it being from the FIFA 13 days. After not having to constantly hear We Are Not Good People for a bunch of years, I think it is a pretty decent song. But yeah, I think we would need like an S-tier song to end this album to make up for some of those painfully average ones. I'm thinking that maybe Real Talk and Kettling would be the only songs in this album that I wouldn't change a thing about. I'm going to have to go with the general consensus on this one. 4 is a noticeable drop-off. You know, I've gone into Intimacy and 4 with an open mind, and I would very much defend Intimacy as nowhere near as bad as people suggest. I would only kind of say the same about this album. Now, at the risk of depressing myself even further, I also wanted to check out the EP that came out after 4, called the Nextwave Sessions, because 1, it was the last Bloc Party release to feature Matt Tong and Gordon Moakes before they left the band, so there's a sort of historical significance to it. And number 2, the first song on it is Ratchet, which I have a good feeling they're going to play live when I see them in a month's time, because it's one of their more popular songs, I believe. Let's listen to Ratchet to start off with. I remember hearing this on Triple J a few times when it first came out. Oh, this is proper Kelly rapping. Yeah, that's a bit of a goofy song, but it's got a real good groove, I feel. I'm probably gonna jump around to it when they play it live. Most people probably will. I like it. That was a fairly straightforward song, far more electronic. I don't really know what to say about that one. I thought it was nice, just didn't really elicit any commentary for me, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It keeps things simple. Well, guess what? The verses on this song, they kind of sound like arse. But then, I'm really digging the little echoing guitar line in the chorus. Can't you just write the whole song like that? This is just Ratchet, but worse. What are you sniffing around for? French Exit does some things decently well and other things not quite as well. I'll just leave it at that. Not gonna lie, this is kind of amazing. Mate, these guitar parts are so good. Oh, this is produced by the same guy that produced Black Midi's debut album. Huh. Yeah, Dan Carey's done pretty much every notable British post-punk album of the last 5 years. Oh, Jesus Christ. Holy shit! Is that a bass line? Nice bass line. This one's a little bit generic, but, you know, catchy enough. Still good. Maybe I wouldn't be in the majority that'd say this, but I feel like the Nextwave Sessions EP was a bit of a palate cleanser after the somewhat average 4. Now, Children of the Future did win me in the end. I think French Exit was the only song that I wasn't feeling that much overall. The rest of the songs, especially Montreal, I really got into those songs more than I would have initially expected. Yeah, wow. Beyond the best tracks on Silent Alarm, Montreal might be one of my all-time favourite Bloc Party songs now. That sounded awesome. So I'm slightly more hopeful about how Kim's and Alpha Games are going to sound after that one. Please do not fuck it up after this. Please.
Fucking hell, man, I'm finished.
We're now about to enter the current era of Bloc Party with their 2016 album, Hymns. And I believe that Justin Harris had filled in for Gordon Moakes, but they were still just a trio when they were recording this. Their current drummer Louise Bartles hadn't really been integrated, so maybe this album isn't going to have particularly complex drum arrangements and maybe mostly drum machines and electronic drums. I'm not sure. I think I know that this album is going to be more electronic overall. I believe I heard one of these songs on Triple J when it first came out, and I believe it may have been the opening track, The Love Within. And from what I remember of that song, it was basically just played on one note for the entirety. Just one note bending up and down in pitch for 4 minutes, which is a prospect I'm not really looking forward to. But well, we'll see if it is a little better than what I remember. Well, the bass drum in the intro sounds like they've got a crock and they're just banging it on a concrete floor, which is a great start. I like this bridge, good bridge. And then we go back into this shit. So there are definitely positives to that song, so it's gone up. My evaluation of it has gone up. However, I still can't get over the wah, 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 wah. Oh, that is piss poor. Oh, I'm sorry. There's enough in that song that I can grow to appreciate the whole thing, but yeah. So hopefully it only goes up from here. Alright, we're going back to the Zephyrus vibe. Okay, we're definitely improving so far. Well, I think that's the first instance of actual guitar on the album. That definitely is. Alright, Only He Can Heal Me is definitely more of a success than The Love Within. It's certainly not the most exciting Bloc Party song around, though it definitely feels somewhat understated on purpose. It at least built up towards some different ideas towards the end, which I can always appreciate. I really hope this is going to build up to something somewhat exciting. Oh, that's the end. Right? I think I ultimately like So Real, but it is just average. Next one's called The Good News. Okay. The return of the slide guitars, you know, it's a bit like, what the fuck? It's something different, at least. If you're not gonna be a resounding success, then at least try and be something unique, right? The mic. Well, when The Good News gets to the post-chorus bit, I can just picture like a Range Rover driving through the desert and scattering sand everywhere. It's got that kind of commercial vibe. It's not terrible though. Could I give it a better compliment than that? Maybe.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think I hate Fortress. I mean, I don't hate it, but do I like it a significant amount? I mean, obviously, Kele, he has a great voice, but singing a memorable melody is another thing entirely. Next track is Different Drugs. It's 5.5 minutes long. Please be fairly interesting. Come on. Slightly more energy at least, which could be an improvement.
You're wrong.
There's only a minute left of this. God damn it. A minute and a half. Come on, boys, turn this around. When I said turn this around, I didn't mean do some chipmunk vocal manipulation shit. So I can't say that this album is necessarily bad, because I haven't heard the whole thing yet. What I'll say is, I can understand why a lot of the general public doesn't rate it very highly. Because, well, one, it doesn't really sound like a Bloc Party album. That's not to say that bands can't change, but if you go back in their career, there's a lot of, you know, slower, atmospheric songs in their catalogue that are really good, like Blue Light, Compliments, the last few songs from Weekend in the City, and even more recent songs to this, like Montreal, in my opinion at least. But these just aren't the same as those. I don't think it's necessarily that, oh, they've changed so they suck now. I'm saying I think that there's a little bit more constructive criticism towards this than Intimacy, definitely. I think. Next up, Into the Earth. Oh god, is this album actually making me more tired? Alright. Ooh, got a bit of noodling. Into the Earth is the best song on this album so far. Like, it might look like I'm just saying that because it's the first guitar-driven track on this album, and I couldn't necessarily rule that out. But also, yeah, like I said at the end of Different Drugs, there are plenty of mostly guitarless Bloc Party songs in their older catalogue that are amazing. Yeah, I think the strength of Bloc Party is the collaboration of multiple people, everyone in the band contributing to the songs. I did look at the Wikipedia for this album, and the songs are only credited to Kele and Russell. Not to say that, oh, this is a Kele solo album, so it must suck, because I haven't heard any Kele solo albums, so I can't judge. I just think that, again, the strength in Bloc Party songs lies on having multiple people to put ideas together and filter out the lesser ideas. And I think that Into the Earth is a result of more ideas put together. Next up, we've got another 5.5 minute song, My True Name. You know when you go to a YouTube video that's just released and it has the premiere, and there's usually like one little bit of music that plays during the countdown to the premiere? The intro kind of reminds me of that. But that bit of music at the start of most premieres, it's nice, so it's not necessarily a criticism. Don't worry, I don't think I really missed anything. You know, normally when I see an album's track list and I see that there are certain songs that are a bit longer than the others, I tend to look forward to those because I think, oh, this is when they're going to do something bold, experimental. Not on this album. It's just 5.5 minutes of the same shit for the whole song, really. I've got nothing left to say.
Make it so!
Virtue sounds like 90% of all the indie music that's been somewhat popular in the last decade. Also, in the music video, the only member of Bloc Party that appears in the video is Kele. The criticisms write themselves. The Love Within, The Good News, and Virtue were singles from this album. Good News was okay. Love Within is half okay. And Virtue. Bloc Party don't really have, in my mind, the greatest track record when it comes to singles. But obviously I know that they're going to release the most accessible songs on the albums to promote it for not just fans, but the wider audience. So I kind of get that, but let's see if next song, X's, is a little more stellar. Well, the guitars in the chorus here remind me a bit of the guitars in Montreal, which is certainly a good thing for me. This is another good bit. Good harmonies. Like that. Oh, yeah, this has definitely got proper drums. Wait, who played the drums on this album? Alex Thomas. Forms with Square Pusher and Air. Okay. X's is thankfully another one of the better songs on Hymns. It may take about 2.5 minutes to really get interesting, but I'm just glad that it did get interesting in the end. So we'll consider that another reasonable success. And yeah, shout out to Alex Thomas for the great drumming on that song. One more song left. Alright. I'm already kind of vibing with this. So it sounds like there's a synth part doubled by a bit of a finger-picked guitar line, something like that. This genuinely might be the first song on the album where I've actually been digging it from the very start. Thank you, Bloc Party. Thank you for having to make me sit through 35 minutes of music to get to the actual really good songs in this album. I really appreciate that. But I do really appreciate Living Lux. It's probably at least the second best song in this album. Actually, I reckon it might be my favourite after all. So Hymns ultimately isn't entirely a failure. However, for a 47-minute piece, it really should have been a bit more. For me, yeah, Living Lux, X's, and Into the Earth were the only outright successes on this album. I can't even remember which ones I thought were okay. They've gone in one ear and out the other, basically. So I remember that Virtue was very underwhelming, I will say that. And yeah, The Love Within starts off awful, has a good bridge, goes back to being awful, and then brings back the good bridge again. So it basically summarizes the entire album in itself. It's got great bits, and it's got not so great bits.
Oh my god, there's another Bloc Party album to listen to. Yay!
But yeah, okay, I'm half joking. So last year's album that they released, called Alpha Games, I'm already seeing a couple of positive signs about this one. Firstly, it now has Justin Harris and Louise Bartle fully integrated into the band and contributed to the songwriting. So hopefully that brings a bit more inspiration. Secondly, the album is only just under 40 minutes long. So if it turns out to not be all that spectacular, then at least it's nearly 10 minutes shorter than Hymns. And thirdly, it has a higher user rating on Album of the Year by like 2 points. But yeah, let's just jump into this one and pray. Track number 1 is Day Drinker. Skip it a flip it. Well, there's already more energy in this song than pretty much anything from Hymns, which is a positive. Alright, well these drums definitely, it almost sounds like Matt Tong never left. Day Drinker is good. Wouldn't necessarily go much further than that. However, considering the sort of stuff we've gotten from bands that are like, 2 decades or more into their career, this is pretty good by that standard, for sure. Plenty of palatable musical elements, and already this is looking like it's gonna shit all over hymns. But anyway, next song, Traps. This sounds like it could have been on 4. It is kind of heavy, so possibly in a more convincing way than most of the songs on 4 even. I don't know how I feel about Kelly making a slurping sound, but anyway. This bass line is stank. Another good one. Already, the drums on this album have been very, very strong. Overall, I'd say Traps is probably stronger than the opening track. It does kind of feel like they were maybe trying to go back to the sound that fans and critics preferred from Bloc Party in the past. So, on one hand, you could see this as a retread. On the other hand, it feels like, they're actually playing to their strengths. So, I'm content with these songs so far. Let's see how I'm content with track 3. You Should Know the Truth. Alright, so we've got a less edgy song now. Is this the best guitar riff you could have come up with? This is meant to be a guitar solo. We've come to a bit of a dip in the album, but we're not quite in the abyss just yet, I will say. You Should Know the Truth is just fine. Compared to some of the stuff that I've heard for this video, I would probably settle for just fine, at least in that case. Next song's called Callum is a Snake. Looking like a mug. Sounds like a breakbeat on the drum, basically. This is so British. The lyrics on that one are an absolute piss take, but I'm in on the joke. It's not completely shit! Yes! Alright. Just gotta calm down, because there's still 6, 5, 7... I can't count, fuck. There's still 8 songs left on this, actually. So, let's just control the expectations. They're going for a few slightly different rhythms compared to what they've done with previous Bloc Party stuff. I like that. I like the freshness of it. Interesting change. I don't even know what kind of vibe is supposed to be. What, like disco? Oof, that's a real harsh guitar solo. Rough Justice is very much all over the place. Out of the more rock and roll Bloc Party songs that they've done, it covers pretty much all the bases, and maybe a couple of bases that they haven't covered before. It might not always go to those different areas quite convincingly, but, constant change is better than constant flat delivery, It is good enough for me. The girls are fighting. Isn't that like a Stan Twitter meme? What a universe we live in. The will of the people, the will of the people, the will of the... Maybe I should have called this Rock and Roll Part 3. Well, at least this music video appears to have all 4 members in it. I'm assuming Louise is the ref. Oh, wow. Is this the most psychedelic guitar line in a Bloc Party song? I do like that. The opening 30 seconds or so of that song had me a bit worried. Anytime there's a song with a kind of rhythm, the alarm bells ring in my head. What was that other song from Hymns? The Good News. I was equating that to car commercial music, but then this came along. But it won me over in the end. It evolved, which is what we like. It's what I like. I mean, I don't know why do I keep saying we? I don't speak for all fucking Bloc Party fans. Do I? We are definitely moving in a positive way. Not as in a, let's get this album over with as soon as possible. No. We're halfway through the album, and that's not too bad. Okay, this has a bit of Hymns energy. Or should I say, the lack thereof. Okay, I might need a little bit more time with this song for it to really shine through. Of Things Yet to Come is good enough. If this is another one of the lesser tracks on this album, then this is still a vast improvement for Bloc Party, especially compared to the album before it. I think Traps was the first single, but this was another single called Sex Magique. The new Avatar The Last Airbender series has a odd new theme song. Okay, now this doesn't sound like an actual Last Airbender song anymore. Alright, I don't want to play Cinema Sins too much here, but in the chorus he says, ossify like the marrow in our bones, when I'm pretty sure that ossifying in bones applies to the bones themselves, not the marrow. Yeah, scientifically, it's a bit of a misstep. Sex Magic is also fine. Alright, I'm getting like a Ratchet meets the more electronic songs and intimacy type feel. So By Any Means Necessary has a kind of tropical indie dance flavour that's sort of been done to death in popular music at least. Again, it's fine. And we've got In Situ. I'd consider In Situ, with its bouncy rhythmic backing, as a bit of an improvement over the last couple of tracks on this album. Hopefully the last two songs on Alpha Games continue that trajectory. If not, in the same vibe, just the same level of quality. Penultimate track is If We Get Caught. This has to be one of the most Bloc Party sounding songs that they've ever made already. I feel like a fucking Bond villain now with this little cat here, just stroking the... I was going to use the P word, but I couldn't bring myself to. Clearly I have some dignity left in me. Well, this is nice. I think the best word to describe If We Get Caught would be pleasant. Even if it's not necessarily in the upper tier of their songs overall. Really, really nice ending on that one. Oh, that's a deep Kelly note. I just had the weirdest thought. Were they possibly trying to do like a Slint Spiderland kind of thing here? With the spoken word and the very gradual dynamic change, perhaps? I mean, it's not impossible. Probably unlikely, though. Well, at first, I wasn't so sure if the peace offering was gonna be really on the same level as If We Get Caught or In Situ. But then it got a bit peculiar. I like me a bit of peculiar. Interesting, because that song is like a slower song, but then it also has the kind of spoken word thing, which I think is like a combination that hadn't really happened in Bloc Party's discography up until now. So that very much won me over in the end, that song. And Alpha Games, as a whole, definitely has won me over too. I wouldn't even hesitate to say that Alpha Games is better than 4, at least from my first listen to each of them, because there were far less songs on Alpha Games that felt like an immediate flat-out disappointment. Far more consistency on this album, I would say. They know where their strengths lie. It's a good listen. Fuck off. So I have now heard every single Bloc Party studio album, but they did release something this year, a 4-track EP called not The High Life, just High Life. Oh, sorry, the EP is called The High Life, and the first track is just High Life. Are they going full-blown LCD sound system now?
You're such a blur. You're doing too much.
Not really what I asked for, but I take funk over R&B on Valium, like hymns. It's probably just passable, I guess. Next up we have, I guess, the first ever feature on a Bloc Party song, a guy called Kenny Hoopla, who I don't really know, so I can't really make any judgments. Alright, that must be Kenny. Ooh. We're getting screamo in here. Well, in the middle of that song, I was wondering what Kenny Hoopla really brought as a feature on this. Because it ultimately just kind of sounded like he was singing a vocal line that Kelly had written and was basically trying to sing like Kelly anyways. But then he went all post-hardcore up in this bitch. Yeah, overall, The song is pretty entertaining. It's a good song. It's another example of modern Bloc Party being not all that bad. So yes, next, this one's called Blue. I'm already really liking this tender sort of approach. Ooh. Now the fucking troops are galloping up over the hill. Oh, Kelly's a weeb now? That's possibly one of the worst things I've said in this entire video. I'm sorry, Kelly. So it turns out, Bloc Party still know how to write good, mellow songs as well. Blue could have continued in the same vein as what it was like, in the first 30 seconds or a minute, but, it had a bit more of an energetic chorus. I can't believe I like that song so much. Who'd have thought I'd be this much of a Bloc Party apologist? Let's see what the final song in this EP is like. All 4 songs on this EP are going for a slightly different approach, which some people might think is weird, but I like the freshness of it, That synth line in the background sounds real tasty. This doesn't really feel like a Bloc Party song to me, not completely. I still like it, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, I'm so glad that this video is going to have a happy ending. We've actually finished with some decent music. Both the Alpha Games album and the High Life EP. Blood Moon isn't quite on the same level as Blue, but it is a good enough finish for me. More than good enough. More than good enough. Now, to conclude this video, a bit of a tier list sort of ranking of the albums and 2 EPs that I've heard. I'm going to make use of a Bloc Party song tier list that I found. Credit to Derpy2889387 When the bottom tier of this ranking is like drinking poison, I can't just not make use of it. Here's the little song ranking that I did for that. It was a bit rushed, so take it with a bit of a grain of salt. The only ones that are really set in stone would be the Silent Alarm tracks. Anyways, Silent Alarm. Obviously, a weekend in the city. It's not quite on the level of the debut album, but it is still very strong and full of damn good tunes. So we put it in the amazing category. Intimacy. I feel like just putting it in great would be a bit of a disservice, so I'm going to put it half amazing and half great. Then we have 4. I think mediocre would be a bit far, so it's going in the okay section. Meanwhile, the Nextwave Sessions EP, I'm going to say great. 4 pretty good songs, 1 alright song, and, well, I've put Montreal in my amazing row, because it is fucking amazing. Now, yeah, I think mediocre, because, yeah. But then their newest album, Alpha Games, I'm putting that in great as well. I salute you, Bloc Party, you are actually improving. And their latest release, the High Life EP, I'm going to say half good, half great. The only song that I'd really sort of like, is High Life. But just for 4 songs, it's a good selection. Thanks for watching.
Cunt.